Well, welcome back to the kitchen here on the Fat Daddy Sports Podcast. I am your Fat Daddy host, Craig, and today we're going to be taking a look around the NFL. Each NFL offseason offers plenty of players changing teams, new faces in new places, and today we're just going to kind of go team by team, look at some of the key acquisitions that they brought in. We're not going to go over every single acquisition because there's a laundry list of players, but some of those key players that are going to kind of shape a team's season, especially in the fantasy world. We'll look at some of those key offensive players and some key defensive players. But enough talking. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We'll start at the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills. I've got kind of everything here in front of me, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit, but the Bills seem to like Kyle Allen, so they bring him back. And then the big offensive move, DJ Moore, bringing him in a trade from the Chicago Bears. They go out and they get Trent Sherfield, and they re-sign Dawson Knox on a new deal. And then they bring in some offensive linemen, Austin Corbett, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Connor McGovern re-signs with them. They go get Michael Dana from the Chiefs defensive line. Bradley Chubb signs a deal with them, a pretty big deal, 3-year, $43.5 million deal. $29 million guaranteed there. They bring in D. Alford. They bring in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's on his millionth team in about 4 years, just keeps jumping from team to team. And then they bring back both of their kicker and their punter, Tyler Bass and Mitch Wisniewski, both signed new deals to remain with the team. Jumping to the Miami Dolphins, the big splash for the Dolphins this offseason, along with re-signing Devon Achane to a new deal. I guess they don't re-sign him. They extended Devon Achane to a new 4-year extension, $68 million. But the other big move offensively, they bring in Malik Willis from the Packers. He comes over with Jeff Hafley to try to right the ship for this Miami Dolphins team, who is they're under a major overhaul after losing their key 3 players, Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. It's going to be a much different Dolphins offense this year. Malik Willis would be at the head of that. He signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal, $45 million fully guaranteed, $22.5 million signing bonus, a $2 million roster bonus, and a $20.5 million 2028 salary. A lot of numbers there, but essentially it ties Malik Willis to the Dolphins for the next 3 years. A guy that is out to prove it. He's had his stints with the Titans and the Packers, and now he gets the chance to be the guy in Miami. He'll be throwing to new wide receiver Tutu Atwell, who signed a 1-year deal. Jalen Reagor signed a deal. Looking at the New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel's team there, they've obviously had quite the offseason, but should be a good team, a team that made the Super Bowl last year. They go out, they sign Elijah Vera Tucker to fill up that offensive line. They bring in the big splash play in A.J. Brown to try to open up that offense. They go get another key wide receiver piece in Romeo Doubs. The wide receiver room in New England for the last few years has been a question mark. They've had some pieces. Obviously, Stephon Diggs was there last year. That helped things out, but they go out and they get the big name A.J. Brown. And then Romeo Doubs has shown big time pieces for the Packers over the time that he was there. And they signed him to a big deal, 4 years, $70 million contract. So he's not going to just be some scrub for this Patriots offense. He'll be involved early and often. They bring in James Hudson for that offensive line as well. So the Patriots have a few faces that'll be new and look to build off of that 2025 season. Staying in the division, the New York Jets, Geno Smith, he'll bring some stability to that room. I've already talked about it in a few different videos, but trade with Las Vegas Raiders to bring in Geno Smith. They signed Breece Hall to a new deal, 3-year, $45.75 million deal. They get Tim Patrick from the Broncos. They bring in Joseph Asai. He signed a 3-year deal. Devondre Sweat was traded there from the Titans. They've got Demario Davis signed a 2-year deal. Michael Walker re-signed with the Jets. Let's see. Andre Sisco re-signed on a 1-year deal. Minka Fitzpatrick was traded there from the Miami Dolphins. We'll kick it over to the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens re-signed Snoop Huntley, a 2-year deal. Skylar Thompson also there, the quarterback room. And then a big move defensively. They made quite a few moves defensively that I think is going to help them this year. But Trey Hendrickson signed a 4-year deal. Obviously, the big news from the Bengals to division rivals, Baltimore Ravens. They went out. They tried to get Max Crosby. They got Max Crosby. Then they didn't get Max Crosby. Ultimately, they end up with Trey Hendrickson, who is a pretty nice consolation prize, if you ask me. They bring in Calais Campbell. He signed a deal with them. Jalen Hawkins signs a deal with them. Kayvon Wallace signs with them to play safety as well. And then you look over at the Bengals, Joe Flacco re-signs. He obviously came in last year for an injured Joe Burrow and showed some good moments. Joe Flacco currently starring in Quarterback on Netflix. Go check that out. Kind of a look into his season last year with the Bengals and how he had to come in for the injured Joe Burrow and prove that he still got it. It was good enough, got him re-signed for another year. They shore up that left tackle by re-signing Orlando Brown Jr. to an extension for a 2-year extension. Dalton Reisner, Boye Mafe comes in for the edge on a 3-year, $60 million deal. And then the big defensive trade, they acquired Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, from the New York Giants for that number 10 pick in the draft this year. And Brian Cook comes over from the Kansas City Chiefs at that safety position. Kyle Duggar also at the safety position signs a 1-year contract. So some moves defensively from the Bengals, whose defense has been very poor over the last few years, should shore up that back end of the defense, certainly, but also get some pressure at the edge and defensive tackle positions. I think that's going to be a unit that is much improved this year. I think the Bengals are going to kind of take that next step or get back to where they were when they have a healthy Joe Burrow, a healthy offense, and a good defense. They're going to be a team to reckon with all season long. The Cleveland Browns bring in fullback Michael Burton. Titus Howard, offensive tackle, is acquired from the Houston Texans in a trade. Elgin Jenkins signed a 2-year, $24 million deal. Zion Johnson signed a 3-year, $49.5 million deal. Tevin Jenkins re-signed with them. So you've got Howard, Jenkins, Johnson, and Jenkins all coming in on that offensive line for the Browns, a unit that's been pretty poor. They're really trying to shore that up this year, making every possible move that they can make to get that offensive line better, and that should help them. I think that they're going to be a much improved team because of that offensive line unit. They go get Jared Verse. It was in that trade for Myles Garrett, comes over from the Rams. Quincy Williams signed a 2-year, $13 million deal at the linebacker position. And Miles Bryant signed with the Browns. Staying in the division here, Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers signed a 1-year deal to keep this thing going. Wasn't sure if he was going to be back, but he's back on a 1-year deal. Rico Dowdle comes over from the Panthers, signs a 2-year deal with the Steelers. Travis Homer comes over as well in that running back position. Michael Pittman, big trade from the Colts to the Steelers. They'll look to him to get some wide receiver production alongside of DK Metcalf this year. Robert Tonyan comes over, long time. Aaron Rodgers' partner in crime, Robert Tonyan, comes over, signs a 1-year deal. Darnell Washington signs a new 5-year contract with the Steelers. They love what he can do. Obviously, a huge body. I would love to have him on my team as well, blocking for me. Jack Driscoll on the offensive tackle signs a 1-year deal. Cameron Hayward re-signs a 2-year, $32.25 million contract. Sebastian Joseph Day signs a 2-year deal. Asante Samuel Jr. re-signs on a 1-year deal. Jaquan Brisker signs a 1-year deal. Darnell Savage signs a 1-year deal. Jamal Dean signs a 3-year deal. Really trying to get that defense back to what it has been. Really, they haven't taken a huge step back, just had some injuries, and really trying to shore that defense up here in free agency. Moving over to AFC South, David Montgomery will go to Houston after the trade from the Lions. I look for big things from David Montgomery this year. So Foster Moreau signs. Dalton Schultz, also there in the tight end room, will sign a 1-year extension. Evan Brown signing a 1-year deal at the tackle position. Trent Brown, Braden Smith, also at the tackle positions. Trent Brown is re-signed, and Braden Smith comes over on a 2-year deal. Wyatt Teller signs a deal, 2 years, $16 million. Daniil Hunter signs a 1-year deal. Will Anderson signing a 3-year extension. Sheldon Rankins re-signed. Reed Blankenship signs. That's a big move over from the Eagles. Comes over now to a stacked Houston Texans defense. And staying here with the Colts, Daniel Jones re-signed a 2-year deal. Alec Pierce re-signed a massive 4-year, $114 million contract. Talk about reading between the lines for fantasy football. Alec Pierce is going to be very involved in that offense. Laquan Treadwell, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Mo Alley Cox, Michael Clemens signs a free agent deal. Arden Key signs a 2-year deal. Derek Nottie, the long-time Kansas City Chief, signs with the Colts. Jerry Tillery signs with the Colts. Colby Wooden, Zaire Franklin was traded to the Packers for Colby Wooden. Cam Taylor-Britt, Cameron Mitchell, Akeem Davis-Gaither. Jonathan Owens signs a 1-year deal, and Blake Grupe re-signs a 1-year deal. So a lot of defensive pieces there for the Colts, a team that was trying desperately throughout the season last year to keep improving that defense, and they go out and make some big splashes in free agency. Looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they bring in Amir Abdullah for that running back room, as well as DJ Dallas and Chris Rodriguez Jr. DJ Dallas was a re-sign. The other two they brought in this year. Rodriguez signs a 2-year, $10 million deal. Bring in Michael Carter. KJ Osborne comes over to play wide receiver. And then the big splash here, Wan'Dale Robinson signs a 4-year, $78 million deal. Comes over with Brian Daboll from the New York Giants. Should be involved pretty early, pretty often. Tight end room, Daniel Bellinger comes over, signs a deal. And then you've got Jeffrey Simmons, who signs a 3-year contract extension worth $105.8 million. Big deal there for him. Solomon Thomas is traded. 7th round pick swap goes to the Tennessee Titans. Alontae Taylor signed a 3-year deal. Joshua Williams signed a 2-year deal. And then they bring in Tony Adams in that safety room. Over to the AFC West, J.K. Dobbins re-signs a 2-year deal, $20 million. Jaleel McLaughlin re-signs a 2-year deal. Lil Jordan Humphrey re-signs. Jalen Waddle, obviously the big name there in Denver. He's acquired in a trade from the Miami Dolphins. Looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, they go out and get Justin Fields, an exciting player who has some upside if can just be harnessed the right way. Obviously, rushing has always been through the roof for Justin Fields. Maybe thrown into duty early in the season. We'll see how quick Patrick Mahomes can come back from injury, but there's been some talk of Justin Fields also being on the field at the same time as Mahomes, maybe in a running back fashion, maybe just as a wildcat quarterback, but we'll see. Heck of an athlete, a lot of talent there. Get the ball in his hands and just block for him, and we'll see what happens. Comes in trade from the Jets, Kenneth Walker, big time acquisition for the Chiefs to get that run game going. They re-signed Tyquan Thornton, who showed some glimpses last year of that deep ball, a lot of speed. They go re-sign Travis Kelce to another 3-year deal, which who knows what that really means. Could be 1 year, could be 3 years, could be another 10 years. They go back and get L'Jarius Sneed, who they traded to the Tennessee Titans just a few years ago. Never really worked out there. He comes back on a 1-year deal to the Chiefs. Looking at division rivals, the Las Vegas Raiders, they go out, they get longtime quarterback Kirk Cousins. We'll see. I do think that Kirk Cousins will be the quarterback 1 for the Raiders to start the season. I don't know how long that will last, but he'll get the start there. And then they bring in Jalen Naylor, Connor Hayward, Kwity Paye, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker comes in. 3-year deal. Looking at the Chargers, Trey Lance re-signs. I feel like Trey Lance re-signs a new deal about every 6 months. I see his name in the news a lot. And so they'll bring him back in. Keaton Mitchell, the big free agent splash. A lot of talk about Keaton Mitchell right now as training camp's getting ready to start. A lot of people think he's going to be very involved in that offense. Time will tell. Charlie Kohler signs a 3-year deal. David Njoku comes in. And then they bring in some new offensive linemen. Trevor Penning re-signs on a 1-year deal. They bring in the guard Awosika, and Cole Strange signs a 2-year deal. Tyler Biadasz signs a 3-year, $30 million deal at the center position. Trey Pipkins re-signs. Tahir Tart signs a 3-year extension. Khalil Mack re-signs. Derwin James has a 3-year extension as well. A lot of re-signings there for the Chargers. Got some of those guys in some new deals and brought in some new talent and shoring up that offensive line that gave them so many problems last year. Looking over to the NFC side, the Cowboys re-signed Javonte Williams. George Pickens got the franchise tag. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They go get Marquez Valdez-Scantling on a 1-year deal. Rashawn Gary is traded to the Packers, or from the Packers, to the Cowboys. D. Winters is traded over from the 49ers. Kobe Durant signs a free agent deal. Let's see. Brandon Aubrey signs a 4-year, $28 million deal. $20 million guaranteed. That's a big kicker contract, but Brandon Aubrey obviously shown that he has a leg of gold, and they want to shore him up for the next 4 years. So go get him, give him money, and he definitely deserves it. Let's see here. The Giants bring in Patrick Ricard for that fullback position on a 2-year deal. Bring back OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., signs a deal with the Giants. Calvin Austin comes in, Braxton Berrios, Isaiah Hodges, Darnell Mooney. They are Juju Smith-Schuster. They brought in every wide receiver they could, I think. They are obviously a new coaching change is going to do that. They also bring in Isaiah Likely on a 3-year, $40 million deal. I think he's going to be outrageous this year. They're going to get him the ball a ton. Evan Neal re-signed with them. Lucas Patrick comes in for that offensive line position. Shelby Harris, DJ Reader signs a 2-year deal. Tremaine Edmonds signs a 3-year deal. Looking at the Eagles, they bring in Andy Dalton in a trade with the Panthers for a 7th-round pick in 2027. They bring in Dameon Pierce. Marquise Hollywood Brown signs a 1-year deal. Elijah Moore signs a 1-year deal. Stone Smart, Fred Johnson, Jordan Davis, AJ Vanessa. Jonathan Grenard is traded from the Vikings, comes over. Tariq Woolen signs a 1-year, $12 million deal. Jonathan Jones agrees on a 1-year deal. Marcus Epps and Braden Mann. Looking over to the Commanders, they re-sign Marcus Mariota, who feels like he's been there forever. Jerome Ford, Jeremy McNichols re-signs a deal. Rashad White signs a deal. Diami Brown signs a 1-year deal. Treylon Burks re-signs on a 1-year deal. Van Jefferson signs. Anthony Fursker signs. Chigo Okonkwo signs a 3-year deal with the Commanders. Laramie Tunzel signs a 2-year extension. Good to sign him. A good offensive tackle there in Washington. Nick Allegretti, another underrated offensive lineman, signs a new 2-year deal. Trent Scott re-signs. Andrew Wiley, another offensive lineman. Charles Omenihu, Leo Chanel, another Chief. Amik Robertson signs a 2-year deal. And we'll go over to the NFC North. Khalif Raymond, former Detroit Lion, goes now to the Bears on a 1-year, $5.1 million deal. Jordan McFadden re-signs. Braxton Jones re-signs. Jedrick Wills signs a 1-year deal. Garrett Bradbury acquired in a trade from the Patriots. Devin Bush at the linebacker position signs a 3-year, $30 million deal. They go get Jack Sanborn in a 1-year deal. Kobe Bryant signs a 3-year, $40 million deal. And Elijah Hicks re-signs a 1-year deal. Looking at the Detroit Lions, they bring back Teddy Bridgewater, signs a deal. Isaiah Pacheco from the Chiefs signs a 1-year, $1.81 million deal. Greg Dortch comes over to play wide receiver. Tyler Conklin comes in. Juice Scruggs was traded in that David Montgomery trade over from the Texans. Jack Campbell signs a 4-year, $81 million extension. That's a big piece for their defense. Malcolm Rodriguez re-signed. Another big piece. Rock Ya-Sin re-signed. Looking at the Packers, longtime quarterback Tyrod Taylor signs with them. Sky Moore, the one-time Chief and 49ers, signs with the Packers to play wide receiver. Probably a lot of punt returns and kick returns for Sky Moore there. Benjamin St-Juste signs a 2-year, $10 million deal. Over to the Vikings, the big splash there for the Vikings. Kyler Murray comes in on a 1-year prove-it deal to try to take that starting position from 9, a.k.a. J.J. McCarthy, which I think he will do. But also they re-signed Carson Wentz to a 1-year, $3 million deal. Aaron Jones signs a revised contract that lowers his base salary from $9 to $5.5 million, keeping Jones in Minnesota for this season. That could be a big one to watch for the fantasy season. Kind of read between the lines there. Juwan Jennings signed a 1-year, $8 million deal. I think that's a big one. As a Chiefs fan, I really wanted them to go out and get Juwan Jennings. He's shown some big things over the years for the 49ers. I think he will help open things up for Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in that Minnesota offense. Now it's just a matter of getting them the ball from the quarterback position. And then the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons bring in Tua on a 1-year prove-it deal as well on the veterans minimum. Ryan Robinson Jr. comes over on a 1-year, $2.5 million contract. Jahan Dotson signs a 2-year deal. Drake London, a 4-year, $141 million contract extension. Kyle Pitts, also with that extension, a 3-year, $54 million contract that includes $36 million guaranteed over the next 2 seasons. Jawan Taylor from the Chiefs, the most flagged player in the history of any sport, I think. Most frustrating for opposing teams and also for Chiefs fans. Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle, now signs a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Falcons. He goes over to Atlanta. They also bring in Sidney Brown, the safety from the Philadelphia Eagles. That will be a big one to watch. Nick Folk signed a deal and Jake Bailey signed a deal to do some kicking for them. The Carolina Panthers, Will Grier signed with them. Kenny Pickett signed a 1-year deal. A.J. Dillon signed. Jalen Coker, a 3-year extension. John Mechie signs a deal. David Moore and Sam Martin signs a 2-year contract to do some punting for the Panthers. New Orleans Saints, Zach Wilson to a 1-year deal for the quarterback position. Ty Chandler, Travis Etienne, or Travis Achan, depending on who you are, signs a 4-year, $52 million deal to spell Alvin Kamara and probably take over that RB1 position in New Orleans. Cameron Jordan signs a 1-year deal, new 1-year deal. Caden Ellis on a 3-year, $33 million deal for the Saints. And Terrell Burgess re-signs with the Saints, as well as Julian Blackmon. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers bring in Kenneth Gainwell from the Steelers on a 2-year, $14 million contract. David Sills comes in with the Bucs. Cade Otton re-signs a 3-year, $30 million contract. Cade Otton has shown some things over the years. They really like him. Re-sign him to a 3-year deal. Dan Feeney re-signs at that O-line position. Alex Anzalone, big name from the Lions linebacker core, signs a 2-year, $17 million deal to head to Tampa Bay and play for the Buccaneers. Headed to the NFC West finally. You've got Tyler Algier in Arizona to play alongside of new rookie Jeremiah Love. And as of the recording of this video, James Conner also will be in that backfield. Kendrick Bourne signs a new deal. And then the Rams, they sign a contract extension with Matthew Stafford. Ronnie Rivers re-signs. Tyler Higbee re-signs. Myles Garrett, the big name of the NFL offseason, traded from the Cleveland Browns over to an already very good Los Angeles Rams defense. He will immediately be a plug-and-play and just dominate for that team, alongside of new teammate Trent McDuffie, who is also traded over to the Rams from the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Watson, he's now with the Rams after signing that 3-year, $51 million deal. Cameron Curl re-signs in a safety position, and Joe Cardona signed with the Rams as a long snapper. 49ers, Patrick Taylor re-signed a 1-year deal. Mike Evans signs a 3-year deal. Big deal there for the 49ers. Christian Kirk, also another one, signed a free agent deal with them. Cameron Sample at the tight end position. Trent Williams signs a new team year $50 million deal that includes $37 million guaranteed. Dre Greenlaw signed a 1-year deal with them. Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, John Weeks, Eddie Pinheiro, and Corliss Waitman all signed. And the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks bring in Emmanuel Wilson on a 1-year deal. Jake Bobo re-signed. Rashid Shaheed re-signed. JSN gets that pay raise after his breakout season last year. 4-year, $168.6 million extension. 120 of that is guaranteed. He got paid and well-deserved. JSN, hats off to you. Looking for another big year this year out of him. Harrison Bryant signs with the Seahawks. Bobby Hart signs. Josh Jones re-signs on that offensive line. Dante Fowler and Derek Hall at the edge position both sign. And that kind of rounds out a very quick recap of some of the moves this offseason in the NFL. Obviously didn't touch on all of them for every team. We'd be here for another 18 hours, but some of the big names, some of the intriguing moves, I kind of tried to cover all positions. If I skipped anybody, let me know down in the comments who I missed, who you're excited to watch on a new team this year, who your team brought in, who you're excited to see play for your team. Let me know down in the comments, and maybe we'll do a video on your specific team, your specific player, and why that's a good fit. But until next time, I will see you guys again back in the kitchen on the next episode. Have a good one.